back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carrie, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
All right, welcome back. It is another edition of the unofficial 40 podcast right here on Soonerscoop.com as we head into a really busy week. A lot of stuff going on. But first off, we welcome in the crew, and we have more people than we have microphones these days. We will get this figured out. But I will say this, it's going to be another two-pod week for you out there. If you're wondering why we're going so early today, it's because Media Day is happening tomorrow for softball. The guys are all going to be out there covering that, as well as summer camps getting started. We've been talking about them for a long time, so let us bring in the entire guys. Josh McQuistion joins us from Studio B. Eddie is here, Bob, and also George. But guys, hope you had a really nice, relaxing Memorial Day weekend. I know Eddie got out there and put on some miles on the car again on the Eskridge Lexus.
Yeah, I went down to Dallas. It's kind of become a annual event of going to do a tour event or like a PGA type thing. So we went down there with my dad and cousin and his kiddo that 9 or 10 years old. So it was a lot of fun. New PGA course down in Frisco is really cool. Two sides, and it's like built into basically the middle of Frisco, but you don't feel like you're there in the middle of Frisco.
Yeah, you're kind of almost in Prosper there on the edge.
Yeah, it's really far north Frisco. It's quite
like
the drive from Fort
north.
Worth to North Frisco. I mean, God.
Yeah, that's not. I mean,
it's not close.
121.
That's about as far like from one side of DFW to the other that you could drive.
And when you left the ballpark Friday, Arlington, did you think they'd hear their name called Monday?
I didn't think that they were going to make it after the ball game on Thursday night when they blew the lead against Texas Tech. So especially didn't think that they were going to. It came down to basically, and I know that we'll get into it, was it going to be the tournament committee looking at RPI, or were they going to look at conference record and what you've done? And, RPI, I think, what was that, Saturday night when they released or Sunday evening when they released all the host sites, and 15 of the 16 were in the top 16 of the RPI. I think everybody around Oklahoma felt pretty good about their chances. And then obviously, to hear their name called on Monday was really positive news. I mean, I think that we probably haven't talked enough about like what they had to replace as far as a starting rotation. And then, shortstop, second base, center field, catcher, first base, and a bunch of arms, even guys that, didn't throw in the starting rotation. So headed to Charlottesville, and we'll see. They got a chance. We'll see.
Josh, have you recovered from? I can only imagine. Probably Lee Greenwood was at your house this weekend singing songs.
Isn't he wasn't he a communist anyways? Lee Greenwood, isn't that like kind of the thing that's out there?
Him with Yakov Smirnoff and just people who lived in Branson for a long time.
Oh. All right, well then maybe
he might
never
have been
mind.
a draft dodger. I don't know.
Maybe never mind. I don't know.
I've always heard he was kind of a dick, but other than that, I can't think
Lee
of anything
Greenwood
sticks out to me.
Lee Greenwood.
I've heard he's a little.
Yeah.
Speaking of people,
wait. You know what he was doing this weekend?
In Charlottesville, marching.
No, he was in. He was. God damn it. He was over in Europe, like at Normandy, like planting flags at the tombs of the unknown soldiers and all that stuff. So there, you bastards.
Oh, well,
trying to besmirch his name.
I respect
song.
a good publicity
I don't know if that's the
stunt,
tomb of the unknown
so.
soldiers, just the people that died on the beaches of Normandy and all that stuff. I think.
Yeah, I think the unknown soldiers in
That's
D.C.
in
I'm pretty sure that's right.
Sure, yeah, the tomb of the unknown soldier. Is that Is that the one that has the eternal flame? Eternal flame.
I think so.
Ooh,
sounds right.
Maybe. Yeah.
I gotta say, I mean,
clearly we're not history majors.
We're not off to a strong start here.
I'll say this: I'm lost on the whole DC tour thing, like just walking the mall and seeing the monuments and stuff. It just doesn't. I mean, I will say the Vietnam Wall, like that's really cool.
Yeah, I had a buddy that like right before his wife gave birth to their first child, he was like, I just need to get away. I'm going to get away for a weekend. And he went up there solo and did everything by himself. And he said it was maybe one of the best trips.
And all that.
It was like one of the best trips he's ever taken. I've heard the solo trip to DC is pretty fun.
My dad forcefully tagged himself along to the Sugar Bowl when OU played LSU because that Tom Hanks museum had just opened up. Was it the World War II museum? Or is it just overall national military museum or something?
I think there's something down in New Orleans. I know.
Well, I'm telling you, there is.
Yeah.
I just don't know exactly what it is. So, but no, hopefully everybody had a great Memorial Day weekend out there. Josh, I'm sorry you're out all the money to hire Lee Greenwood this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, that's apparently when Tiffany and I renew our vows, we're going to have to do it to Lee Greenwood, and that's just not exciting at all.
It's either that or Miley Cyrus. Those are our two anthems. Oh. Home of the World War II Museum, New Orleans, Louisiana.
So it's either Lee Greenwood or Party in the USA.
Yeah, those are the two anthems, I think, that, they could probably replace the real anthem.
I'm going to guess Josh and all his friends' Party in the USA is going to win out. With all his degenerate friends and the crazy stories that he probably can't even tell us.
Yeah, there's a fair amount that is not ready for publication. But now I will say, I
Josh,
actually got a message because I have
Josh
one
is
of my
actually
best buddies.
the scary one here because
Yes.
Eddie readily talks about all of his mischief and his misspent youth. Josh just straight out can't talk about some of the shit that he's done.
There are careers in public office that have been ruined by things that I've seen and know about. So that there's just no question about it.
Nowadays, you don't get a public office job if you don't have a little bit of a sordid
That's
past.
fair.
I think
That's fair.
The voters out there, they prefer a little bit of you mix it up a little bit. Maybe you have a little bit of a racist comment in Facebook in 2014. Guess what? You might be a senator.
Just leave Disney out of it.
Fair.
Oh God, this is off the rails. No, there is. What was I gonna say? Oh no, my buddy that lives in D.C. He was literally sending me messages because he thought Eddie was going to go to Charlottesville, and was like, "Hey, if he goes there, stay here, and there because they have it's aggressive." I'm like, "Oh God!" So I think he wants to see Eddie out in the elements. Although he will be in Vegas this weekend because he is still that guy in his early 40s that thinks going hard in the paint in Vegas is the way to go.
I think I've retired from. Actually, I never really even. The only time I went to Vegas was with the former company, with the when we had the publishers convention out there.
That was.
I think that was the last publishers
I've probably
convention.
been there 5 or 6 times.
Yeah,
went there for my bachelor party.
It doesn't seem like it's as big as it used to be. I mean, I know that it's as big, but for the guy trip, although I'm kind of like I told you guys the other day, I'm kind of slowly phasing out of the guys trips. I think that.
Family trip time.
Well, family trips and, not too many weddings in the summer months. It's more like, oh, yeah, they got divorced. Well, their wedding was fun. And some of those people that are getting divorced, you think, good. That's good for them.
I don't have to hang out with them anymore.
Well, that and just come be miserable with me.
Yeah, I had a split near to me not long ago. There is some consideration of changes of orientation tied to that.
Okay, wonderful.
Interesting. I like that. I
Yeah,
saw
one of the
2023.
Wachowskis.
No. It was. I mean, it's one of those things like you see it now and you're like, yeah, okay, I can get there. I can see how that's possible, but definitely not something I had anticipated.
Sure.
Very, very strange. Not like a longtime friend, more of a acquaintance that we've made in Houston through basically Laney's friends. So it was, strange. That was the first one I've really been around. And then, like I said, got the news that it wasn't just like we're separating. There was cause beyond just we're not happy here.
Can I say this? We support Lydia Thomas, and I just didn't know that you were friends with her.
I want to be very clear.
Is that the swimmer?
Because I know there are some people that are triggered right now. I do not mean that anyone's suddenly competing in men's or women's sports. I just mean maybe they prefer a women's soccer player to a men's soccer player
That's
as
right.
they might have once upon a time.
I'm
So
coming back to win the
that's,
6A fall slow pitch title, and I'm gonna, you know.
You
but
can switch
we
genders.
talk
You
about-
can't switch age. Like, you're ineligible still.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
that's still no.
Well, you never know.
But
I'll indoctrinate
something that should have been noted, Eddie is apparently very knowledgeable about the Oklahoma slow pitch softball scene. I wasn't aware of this. He was very in tune the fact that the Washington Warriors are apparently
They're a dynasty.
machine
Yeah,
in the slow pitch softball world. I had no
absolutely.
idea.
Yes.
They're really good. I just knew that. Well, and I guess the only way that I did know that is because I think it's out on the dugout, like right when you drive into that athletic facility.
Well, that's how I literally
knows 'cause
checked
he
you,
reads,
Eddie. I was
he
like, oh,
knows.
shit, okay.
Yeah, that was really, truly the only way that I knew about all that.
I think the only thing that can
Gotcha.
save this show at this point is Enjoy Vision. It is time again for the Enjoy Vision look around, fresh perspective. The Enjoy Vision fresh perspective look around. As we've talked a little bit of baseball, but as we sit here on a Tuesday, looking ahead to the Women's College World Series, I think we need to give some time and talk about one of the greatest sporting events that I think any of us had witnessed in Saturday's comeback by Oklahoma over Clemson, because I think we all, it's not like you don't feel that stuff in being down 7-4, going into the bottom or the top of the seventh, down to your last out, you're thinking to yourself like, well, it was about time that this team had something like this happen to them. And then to watch them go down to their very last strike, 0-2, twice.
Yeah,
Haley Lee did
Haley,
it first.
yep.
And then, for Kinsey Hansen to come up, take an 0-2 pitch and just house it. It was pandemonium. It was amazing. And the one thing that I keep saying about this is I hope that OU fans don't take this for granted. The emotions that Patty Gasso showed in the postgame on ESPN, you could tell that this has been a little bit of a weight that everybody has felt. Even though she said, I know, George, you asked her about the win streak, that she doesn't talk about the win streak. You're human. It's impossible to ignore. And to think like, oh, crap, this is happening. This is going down. The win streak is over. We didn't break it. We're going to have to come back and play again. To go from that to just complete jubilation is one of the most amazing things I've ever seen.
Yeah, and Patty recognized it in the moment, too, because our press conference has gone about 12 minutes. We're about to wrap up. And Patty says, no, if you guys have got more, let's keep going. We went another 8 minutes because she understood the significance of that game, of that moment, of that weekend. And it's like, if you've got your questions, and she asked Tiare and Kinsey, is like, if you guys are cool with it, let's just keep going. And that's just someone who really appreciated, what that whole scene was like, from being down 7-4 to winning the Super Regional and once again clinching another spot in the Women's College World Series.
I thought it was really cool, too. And, obviously I don't have to tell you guys, you were there. But just the broadcast kept showing like Home Run Village and the people that were out there. It looked like that was one of the bigger turnouts they've had. I don't know how it compares to past years, but it just seemed like that moment on Saturday. I seriously think that, I don't know where it ranks. I tweeted it this morning.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the top 10, top 5. You could talk me into top 3 like moments in OU athletics history. I really do think that it was pretty cool to watch from afar. I can't imagine being inside of Marita Hines Field.
Yeah, it was just a special scene with the largest crowd ever. Final game, most likely the final game ever there, and just having to fight back. I think so many. I don't want to say bored, but I think sometimes you just like, okay, they're gonna win. Is it a run rule or is it just a win? And when they get up 4-0, you start thinking how much closer can they get to 8 and we can go home. And then when Clemson makes that comeback, you're like, what's left in the tank? Like, how are they going to respond? And kudos to Clemson, because I was totally wrong about the entire series. Totally wrong. I was like, Clemson's going to come out Friday. Valerie Cagle is going to bring them something that OU might not be ready for initially. They're going to adapt and adjust and be just fine. But Friday is going to be the game where Clemson can get it from them. And instead, it's when Clemson's down 4-0 in an elimination game. That's when it wakes up, and that's when the drama, the heroics, it all happened.
Yeah, I was going to say, too, I think that, I haven't watched this team all year like you have, Bob, but I did watch the Texas game where they were down 2 going into the 7th, the OSU game down 2 going into the 7th, and even those games, I think there was part of me that's like, oh, they might lose this game, but there was also, okay, I think they can make a run here in the 7th. They're going to. This was the first time that I was like, they're going to lose this game. Like, going into the 7th inning, I was like, there's no chance.
George is trashing his story.
I still have in my drafts, like, Sooners lose, win streak comes to a close, game 3 tomorrow. But when they got 2 on, I was like, okay, they've got something here. But then even then, down 0-2, and even Kinsey Hansen said after the game, that pitch was a really good pitch. And Kinsey just saw it well, and obviously she came through. But there's just like this. It's Bob. I don't know how to describe it, and I wrote a little bit about it the other day. But like, there's just this belief that they're always going to win, especially obviously from the fan base. And Patty said that in her post-game interviews. Like, everybody expects us to never lose, but like in that dugout, like they were never phased. They go down 3. They made some errors in the field. Obviously, Storako, which we can get into, was not good when she came in. Deal has to come in as a true freshman. It's just like, but they never wavered, and that's why they've been so good for so long. That's been, their MO under Patty for years now. Is they never quit. They're unafraid to lose. They're just fearless, and it's honestly incredible to watch, and it's so difficult to explain what it is.
And it was their approach in the 7th inning. You're down 3. Riley Boone, Haley Lee, just fighting off pitches, just go opposite field, or just little bloopers, just find their way to be a base hit, so that someone can come up and try to make something happen. And it's just, it's the intelligence, it's the discipline that comes with knowing the situations. Like, you don't have to play hero, and that's not the first time that Riley Boone has done something like that. It was the exact same 3 that started it against Texas, where it was Boone and then Jada hit the 2-run homer to tie it up. It's like there's just something about understanding what your role is and knowing I don't have to do too much, but if I do what I'm asked, I know I've got teammates that are going to pick me up and do what they need to do, and then as a team, we're going to get the job done.
Well, and I think we also found out, and I think we knew this before going into the weekend, obviously, but Jordy Ball's the ace.
Yes.
she is their girl, and they're going to ride with her the rest of the way, I think. Obviously, Nicole May's going to pitch. She's probably going to start a game or 2 here in the Women's College World Series. Maybe Storako, I don't know. The way she pitched the other day.
Her last 2 outings, the last inning against Cal and now this, if there's any sort of confidence shake, it would be at this moment. Well, yeah. She's been through a lot, so she might just be mentally tough enough to just bounce back. But the last 2 outings give you a little, cause for concern. Outside of that brief outing she had in Game 1 against Clemson, where you kind of knew nothing was at stake. But what was interesting, mentioning Jordy, and I kept mentioning, like, Jordy's in the dugout. They're bringing in Deal. Jordy's not even close to being ready to roll. She's still in the dugout, and it's not till the top of the 6th where they get her, starting the throw, and it's like, man, is that going to come back to bite you?
Well, and I don't think if they had obviously if they had not scored those 3 runs, they wouldn't have gone to extras, but that's why they put her in is they're like, okay, we can't allow obviously Clemson to score, and so she just came in and shut them down. She's incredible, and you can just like feel her intensity watching her. She has like this unbelievable swagger in the circle, like that you just know and it felt like too on Friday when she was the starter, like she would get in these jams and then she'd just come right back with a strikeout, and it was just like that is so like you can't quantify that for a team. And so I think she's going to be their ace the rest of the way. And again, like I said, I think we'll see Nicole May. I think we'll see some Deal. I thought Deal came in in a really tough spot and limited the damage.
She limited, and then she took care of business in the 6th.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's going to be interesting seeing what they do pitching wise, because again, Storako has been good for them all year, but like you said, recently she's dropped off a little bit. So I do think it's going to be Jordy, carrying them. With
Storako, is it just kind of the moment? She hasn't been this far before.
And it might be. It's just very, that's why you thought Friday was big for her, like to come in after Jordy. And, I know it's 9-2. You're not really concerned. But the way she bounced back compared to how she finished off against Cal Regional, you're a little concerned. But then she didn't retire a batter Saturday. That doesn't happen with OU pitching, to where you can't get one person out. You give up a 2-run homer as your very first at bat to go from up 4-3 to trailing 5-4, and then ends up being 7-4 by the time that inning's over. I mean, I think she'll be mentally tough enough, and I don't think Patty's lost any trust in her. But she's gonna have to fight through that first chance she gets, which is funny that they play Stanford to begin, because Stanford has 24 home runs as a team. OU has like almost 200. Stanford has 24. So this isn't the batting order. This isn't the batting lineup that really scares you. It makes you worried. But I mean, Stanford's pitching is
very
exceptional.
Good, right?
Exceptional. That's going to be the battle. But like, if you thought, man, if we can get Alex going again, you might pick Stanford. Maybe not as a starter, but coming in like in the 4th or 5th inning or something of that nature, and saying, okay, can you get
find
back
a little
on track?
Confidence? Yep. Find something. So build a big lead, and then
I don't know if you're going to build a big lead against
sure.
I
like
wonder.
that.
I wonder if they'll. I know I just said Jordy's going to carry them. I wonder though if you say, can we win with Nicole May or Storako
for Thursday?
Because Game 2 is always
going
the
to be
big one.
Yes.
Because if you can win Game 1 and then obviously win Game 2, then all of a sudden you just have to win one of 2 on Monday to get into the championship series. So
and you get those days off.
Yes.
With the new schedule and stuff, you play Thursday, you would play Saturday, you would play Monday. We're not gone are the days. Although Monday could turn into one of those old school days where you play twice and you just have to see what's left in the tank. But having these built-in days off for teams that are winning, you can put yourself in a great position very quickly based on what you do Thursday and maybe Saturday.
It would seem that the top side of the bracket, Alabama and Tennessee is obviously going to be really, really good. I think.
Yeah, and it's fun because the Sooners haven't played them.
OSU as well.
Yeah,
with Alabama and Tennessee.
Yes, because they've played the rest of and they've beaten them. So, you can look back a little bit. That Stanford game was February 10th. I don't know what you learn from a 10-1, 6-inning win in February and bring it into June. But, with Bama, Tennessee, at least there's that freshness. All right, we don't know anything about these teams except for what we've been scouting. So I'm trying to not look past Thursday, but I am fired up about what could happen Saturday.
Yeah, and it feels like, and Bob, you and I were talking about this before we started recording, but you look at the field and you say, okay, who are the teams that can beat Oklahoma? Obviously, I think Florida State's really good. They gave them a run earlier this year. I think Tennessee's playing some of the best softball in the country right now. Alabama, so that Tennessee-Alabama matchup's going to be fun to watch. And you wonder, do they, I'm guessing they're both going to throw their aces in that game to get to the Game 2. And then I think Oklahoma State can steal a game from OU. And Oklahoma State's playing really well right now. But other than that, it feels like it's OU's, it's OU's to lose. And I think everybody kind of feels that way.
OSU just needs Kelly Maxwell to be dry heaving in the dugout to throw a near perfect game. I guess that's... I thought she was wrecked after Bedlam. So the way she bounced back shows her mental toughness. And that's what these teams are going to have to, it's what they've shown to get here. But now they have to take that to that next level during the next, 9 days.
And I do think, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but Patty talked about this the other day, and she said it herself, is that she thinks this is the best team she's ever seen. And I do think if they go win 5 straight here,
if they go 5-0,
I think they are the greatest team. And even if they drop a game, they might be the greatest team of all time, considering all the accomplishments they've had this year. But it's going to be fun. Like Carrie said earlier, I think I covered it in 2017 when I was a student, and that was the year they were like a 10 seed. They weren't supposed to be a team to win a national championship. They go on this incredible run. They have the 17-inning game against Florida. I think that was game 1.
Yeah, it was the first game of the series.
I remember that was just a nuts game. Shea Knighton was hit like 3 home runs. But it's one of the best atmospheres I've ever been a part of. The fans are great. Obviously, OU fans show up. Oklahoma State fans will be there. I'm sure SEC fans obviously travel. So it's gonna be a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to it.
It truly is. Like, if you haven't been out there for it, it's.
And I know a lot of people are upset about those game times.
Yeah, well,
You
don't
know?
be the number 1 seed, I guess, because
Yeah.
they're pretty locked in, right?
Well, I don't know how it worked out.
Who works these days anyway?
Yeah, everybody's working from home anyways.
It's the summer of George. Take some
Summer
time off.
George, take this week off.
You know, I don't think you can skip work for a day. Go watch some softball. It's all. I mean, that's the beauty of it too. The hours are only like 2.5 hours. The games. I said hours.
Sure.
The games are only 2.5 hours.
Yeah, we were there Saturday. 3
Yeah, I
hours,
know, that one was
45
long.
minutes.
That one was long. Yeah, but usually they're quick.
No, it's a lot of fun. It's one of the cooler events here in Oklahoma City. There's no doubt that they put a lot of work into it, and just to see what it's come from, where it used to be 10 years ago, or maybe even 5 years ago, to what it is now.
I always love the every week too. Every year the crowd that's like, it's such an advantage for Oklahoma because it's in Oklahoma City, and it's like, well, UCLA, how about you just get out of your own regional?
I don't know why people get so upset about that, because it's like one of the great compliments of our time is to be so mad that everybody's mad that you're winning, And it usually comes from somebody on Twitter that nobody cares about their opinions anyways.
Yeah. Who was it? There was somebody on Twitter this week that was like, aren't you tired of Oklahoma winning?
I think she was just, I think people misinterpreted that. I'd be pissed about Oklahoma. It's the same thing with Alabama Alabama football.
Yeah.
You just get tired of watching them win all the time.
The biggest gripe I heard from last weekend was that you need to reseed super regionals because Clemson deserves to be in the Women's College World Series, but because it's 116.
Yeah. And if they
never stood a
if they
chance.
want to look into that, I think that I'd be down for that. Get better matchups, or at least get more rewarding for what you've done in the regular season and the regional. I don't have a problem with that at all. Have I ever told you guys that I have perfect vision?
A couple
Has
times.
that ever been brought up? And it's because of Enjoy Vision. It's the best laser vision center in Oklahoma City, not even close. Combination of mind-blowing technology, experienced eyeball surgeons, and exceptional patient care, which was life-changing for me. Now, Enjoy wants to help out U40 listeners. All you have to do is go to enjoywithme.com. That is the letter N-J-O-Y with me.com. Use the promo code U40 and receive $400 off LASIK. It's a simple process, a couple visits before you have to get the surgery or the day of the surgery. Then you show up, and 3-4 hours later, you have perfect vision. You could be like me. So, enjoywithme.com, promo code U40, $400 off. Enjoy Vision. This is where you LASIK.
All right, we hit on a little bit at the beginning in non-sanctioned sports talk, but Oklahoma ends up making the NCAA tournament. I'm sure some of the finest K-State fans are finding this podcast and hate listening now. I didn't really pay attention because I don't really know where Kansas State Twitter is. I'm not seeking it out.
They're not happy. And rightfully so.
But they were Oklahoma. Was Oklahoma going into it ahead in the pecking order of Kansas State?
I mean, it just depended on
It depends what you value.
thought.
Yeah, exactly.
If you value RPI, like the NCAA Tournament Committee has done, and they kind of set precedent last year with NC State and Wofford not getting in, then you go with the RPI. And I think it's been pretty outlined over the last couple of years when they get these coaches and the administrators into baseball meetings, whether it be at the conference level or the national level. RPI matters, and they give you a formula like, this is what you need to do. This is the type of schedule you need to put together.
Well, and it's interesting because the guy who was the chair this year was on ESPN, and I watched that, and he
John
seemed
Cohen.
to contradict, saying that we need to kind of look at a Kim Palm system like the NCAA has and not rely so much on RPI. But
the thing that he
they
got
don't
in
have
hot
that
water
system.
with, too, is the fact that you have 8 regional hosts that are from the SEC, And all these SEC teams have great RPIs because they all play each other.
Right.
It's like the Big 12 in basketball. Yep. You're going to have a quad one, opportunity every weekend during conference play.
And basically the West Coast gets screwed because of that.
More or less, yeah. That's why, outside of Stanford, who's hosting, Stillwater, Oklahoma is the furthest west regional in college baseball outside of Stanford.
Yeah.
But
But
Stanford
you know what?
is really good.
We saw Stanford this year, and we
Yeah.
can tell with our own eyes, Stanford is a damn good baseball team.
Yeah, they can hit the
They
shit out
don't
of
leave
baseball.
any room for doubt.
And
About whether
They
should
won the
be in.
Pac-12. They won by
Kansas
5
State didn't
games.
play a team like Stanford out of conference.
Yeah, OU's non-conference RPI was top 20. I think it ended up being 19, and Kansas State's was like 150.
Was that a 4-game series with Stanford?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was a 4-game
Yeah.
series. They
'Cause
split it. They got
that
their ass
first
kicked on
game, oh
Thursday,
my
Sunday.
God.
Yeah, it was 11-0 before they got the second out in the second inning.
I was wondering if Eddie would even come back that night.
I didn't. I left. I left my body. I haven't been the same since. And then they beat the Friday and Saturday starter, and then they lost the Sunday game to split the series. But yeah, like Oklahoma, they got in because of their RPI and their non-conference. Even the opening series of the year, Ryder won the MAAC, and they took 2 or 3 from them. So it goes a long way in kind of building your schedule. And Ryan Gaines does an incredible job with that and getting him out and playing a bunch of neutral site games and in tournaments and stuff like that build up your RPI. So, yeah.
Well, it was interesting, too, because if you paid attention to Kendall Rogers, he was like, I think Indiana State's going to get a regional.
Yeah.
And then they got a regional. Everybody's like, what, you give a regional to Indiana? But, all the numbers said that they should get a regional.
The only team that didn't get a regional that was in the RPI top 16 was Campbell, and Auburn got that, and Campbell didn't, and they were the 14 overall.
I wonder if
seed.
Campbell even qualifies to be a regional site.
I think they do. I think that they actually have decent facilities. They have a great mascot. They should give it to them just because. Campbell Camels is a great baseball mascot.
They have cigarette night for kids?
They should. They should if they knew what was good for them.
All right, so OU moves on to the Charlottesville regional.
Yeah, we'll see. East Carolina is really, really good.
Yeah.
And Virginia is obviously really good. And
Who was
number
the
7
team that had
national seed,
8
and
wins that won their
Tulane
tournament?
is in the tournament. They upset
19-40.
They beat East Carolina in the
Right.
in the conference championship game. They went 18-41 this year. It's unbelievable.
I'm not even upset about that. I don't deny somebody for winning a conference tournament.
No,
if they're terrible.
they are legitimately a bad baseball team, and they just happen to win 4 or 5 games in a row. That's crazy.
Amazing. All right, so Oklahoma State's hosting. Texas is hosting.
Texas going to Miami. Coral
Texas
Gables.
going to
Correct.
Miami.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
really good
because
regional. Tech's going to Gainesville.
Where's
Kansas State.
TCU?
TCU is going to. Oh God, I can't remember.
Arkansas?
Now. Is that right? Yeah, I think they're going to
Correct.
Fayetteville, where I think a lot of people thought OU was going to.
Yes, me too. Yeah.
And they end up going to Charlottesville. They 5th time in 13 years that OU's going to play NCAA tournament baseball in the state of Virginia, because they went 2010, 2012, and then 2013 they went to Blacksburg, and then last year they obviously went to Blacksburg in the Super Regional. So 5th time that they've gone, and it's gone really well for them over the first 4 times. So we'll see. They are playing better, but it's just little things like you saw Thursday night and blowing the lead against Tech. One bad thing goes happens to them, and they're not able to rebound. They just don't have anybody that can flip it on either. Go hit a 3-run homer and turn around a game when you're down 5-1, or get the big base hit. So they're gonna have to play well.
All right. Well, on top of all of that, it is a huge week around here in the offices. Josh is just coming off of your Oklahoma tour last week. We can see Josh now on camera, and it's so funny getting to see Josh, look at the camera and go, oh, crap, it's my time to talk. I have to start paying attention.
Or how interested he is when it's basketball time.
Well,
it'd be surprising if I'm on camera during basketball time. I might not even be here. It's going to be an empty chair.
Just be like, yeah, honey, I'll be there just a second. Bob's talking basketball. So anyway, I guess we should recap a little bit of your trip last week. We had 2 pods last week, but we went early, really before, I think, the second day of your tour, and then you finished it out the rest of the week. But I think that might have been the morning after you saw Cooper and after Washington?
It was the night of.
The night of.
We came and did it on
yeah.
Tuesday night and did it.
So
Yeah,
anyway,
so, I
just
mean-
kind of how that all went for you last week and what stood out.
Sure. And, we mentioned it. We're going to go to Carl Albert the next morning, and Eddie and I were both out there. And
Good luck, 5A.
Del City is really, really good. Could win state in a lot of years. I don't know if they can stay within 2 touchdowns of Carl Albert. Carl Albert is special. They're very good. And it's just one of those things where we're so used to Carl Albert having great football teams. We all know it, and they have, guys that go to Iowa State or guys that go to Texas Tech. They've got 4 legitimate OU offers on that roster. We're not used to that. And so you go out and see that not only they have, the things that you talk about, the culture, the organization, all the things that make Carl Albert great, and then you add in 4 guys that Eddie, I think you would confirm, those guys are NFL-type bodies. Now, we don't know if they're going to be those guys, but it's not like, okay, he's just a really good high school player that's maximizing himself. Marcus James doesn't have a clue what he can be yet, but he is special. It was my first chance to see him in person. He is legit 6'3", probably 205, 210 pounds. One of those guys that I always talk about can basically scratch his knees without bending over. His arms are incredibly long, just a super. He looks like a basketball player, and at the same time is physical and will come up and play run. I think he's probably he's a linebacker. I could see him growing into a 4-3 defensive end, but I think that's where he's going to end up. Trinae Washington was the guy that I didn't feel that strongly about coming in. But watching him in person and talking to Mike Dunn, the head coach there at Carl Albert, he's pretty special. He's an interesting kind of guy. I don't know that he has the same kind of burst, but watching him move around and how natural he is catching the ball from a lot of different angles, this is a huge thing to say, but there's some CeeDee Lamb vibes there. I don't know of another way to say that. He is very interesting. And I kind of had him pegged as a flex tight end, but man, he's a receiver and going to be a really good one, I think. So, and then Xavier Robinson, physically, I've got to think that's what Jerome Bettis looked like in high school. I think somebody told me he was 236 pounds during spring practice the other day. I can't. Eddie and I probably 4 times during practice, he'd be in space running, and you're like, there's no safety in the state that's going to meet him. No way, no how. It's not going to happen. There's going to be business decisions made all over 5A when they play Carl Albert next year.
And he is a running, but he's not a linebacker like we've thought last summer. He's a true running back, you think?
Yeah, and, I talked to Dunn about it, and, obviously, for those that don't know, Mike Dunn, the head coach at Carl Albert, is very close friends with Jeff Lebby. There's a relationship going back to their high school days. That I was actually talking to Mike about when they met, and it was back playing in the old Oil Bowl, OU in Texas. Lebby played for Texas, and Mike and J.D. Runnels from Carl Albert both played at Oklahoma, and they kind of all befriended each other that week because it used to be such a big event. But they, so that goes back a long ways, and Dunn was very clear that they want Xavier Robinson. Lebby's laid that out for him. He's a priority for them. Some coaches, I'd say, yeah, maybe they're giving lip service, but those guys aren't just acquaintances. They are good, longtime friends, and I just don't see Lebby playing that kind of game. So that'll, and we talked to Xavier. We'll have it up on the front page for those that are on the board and on the site. Eddie ran that interview, I think, late last week. So Robinson was very open. I think it'll come down to Notre Dame, Iowa State, and Oklahoma. He's going to take his final official to Oklahoma State. I think if he's going to stay in state, it's going to be Oklahoma. I just don't see much real chance of it being anybody else. With Notre Dame, there's a lot of appeal there, obviously a lot of name recognition. And with Iowa State, they've just done a great job building that relationship and really making that a close thing. Now, I must say, and we'll kind of keep going here, but as I hear Carrie talk about my lack of interest in what's going on, Carrie is literally out of the room at the moment. George has got his back to the camera, and Bob is doing something. So we've got chaos going on here.
There is mass chaos here.
We just had some scoopers drop by, and they immediately were like, "Are you guys recording the podcast right now?" And I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "We'll come back later." And I was just like, "Okay,
that's right. That's right. We know what runs this.
I was like,
and see, we can't lock the doors because we have deliveries coming today. So it's just like, what do we do?
I was like, I would invite you back, but like we were seriously like in the middle of the podcast. And I was like, come back in a bit, and I'm sure we could.
We appreciate people dropping by like that, but yeah.
You know, the crazy thing with
Can we get like a red recording sign outside, like we're a studio.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. Like
that
out
would
in front.
be
amazing. Like when the old Krispy Kreme had the hot
Yes,
sign in the
that's
window.
right.
Like,
But as we know now, after COVID, that was just when there's something else going on at Krispy Kreme, because I fully believe that they're laundering money, and it's been a front for a long, long time.
they've all been turned into the garage, right? I think most of the Krispy Kremes have been turned into.
The
one in Norman was turned into JR's Barbecue,
right,
and now I think it's a car lot.
right. The one
Or
on
it might be gone.
Well, the one on
completely.
Memorial.
I think the Taco Cabana is the car lot now,
off of the highway there.
right in front of Walmart.
I know that the one in Oklahoma City they just turned into a what's it called? Oh no, that's the building next door. They put up one of those velvet taco places.
Oh, okay.
Off of Memorial, but I think it's in one of the
Just basically,
different buildings.
if you like your food not in its regular form and in a taco, come here.
Yeah, not for me.
It's like, by the way, one thing that they never had at JR's Barbecue was great shrimp. I don't believe, which you can have.
That
at
would
JR.
have been something interesting to have at a barbecue place.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if you wanted to get the unseasoned and put the JR's Barbecue, that might be a really good idea. JR, if you want to, I'm sure you're listening out there traveling for AEW and stuff. If you want to come up with the JR, let's do a collaboration. Let's talk to the Prime Shrimp people. See if we can come up with the JR's Barbecue flavored. I bet Wallace Marsh would help us out with that. PrimeShrimp.com, great sponsor of the pod. Go check them out. All kinds of different flavors. Josh is a big fan. I'm serious, George. Like, you're in town, I will give you some shrimp. I have some shrimp in my fridge because I know you're a big shrimp guy. You like eating the lean proteins.
I just dropped a bunch of stuff, but yes,
It's chaos in the studio.
I would love some shrimp. I'm a big fan. I think my dad ordered some just the other day, so
Okay.
I'm waiting for him to tell me if it's any good.
Well, just lie if he says it's not. All right.
Well, I'm sure it's great, but I'm just saying he hasn't tried it yet.
Like,
He
I
ordered it the
love
other
how
day.
Josh and I have had this, and Bob's not a shrimp guy unless it's like on the grill. Is that right? And Eddie's not really a big shrimp. He'll eat it, but he's not like a huge.
I love shrimp.
That's
Put it in your pan. It's perfect.
Yeah. But Josh and I have had it. I mean, you can't trust us. Like, my God, feeling hurt now.
Yeah, I'm fat. You can trust me. I know what tastes good. That's perfectly fine.
Same here. But the garlic herb butter shrimp, that's probably good for you, George. New Orleans style barbecue shrimp. And again, I'm ready for the JR style barbecue shrimp. See if we can work on that. So go check them out. And also use the promo code U40. You'll get 25% off your entire order of $50 or more. And so just a great company. Go support them. They support the pod, and we appreciate them greatly. So back to recruiting info. I don't know if you're done wrapping up the OK Tour, Josh, or
There's one name I've got to mention. Devon Jordan, especially after he gets the Bama offer.
Yeah, that was really interesting. It was crazy. I felt like I was a day behind Alabama the whole week. Like, I just kept going right to where they had just been. Fall Elijah Thomas, Devon Jordan, the whole thing. So he was really interesting because I get to practice, and he's got and he knew I was coming, and he's got the TCU towel hanging off his butt like we see a lot of guys do. He's got purple shoes and purple gloves on. I'm like, there had been a lot of TCU chatter with him. And so I just, like, while they're going through practice, he kind of comes up to me, and we're just kind of shooting the bull for a second. And I said, should I be aware of all this purple on you, or is there anything I should read in? Because those that don't know it, the Union is black and red. There is absolutely no purple in that color scheme. And he goes, oh, no, it was the stuff I got, And I looked at The TCU was only on the hand towel thing that he had on, but it didn't seem. And then when we talked afterward, and Eddie and I were just talking before the pod started, we'll have that interview up here in the next 24 hours or so, and he didn't even mention them as a school he was sure he was going to give an official visit to, which was really surprising because I really thought this was going to be OU TCU. He mentioned he's going to get out to Alabama. He wants to take an official visit there. And I know people will kind of say, oh, really? But watching him up close, that kid, I saw him last year in that semifinal game that Eddie and I were at, and I thought he had nice potential. I thought he was a good player and could become an OU guy. You can tell a guy that has just picked up confidence, like people are starting to believe in him and he's starting to figure out that he's pretty good because, it didn't matter who was out there. He wanted to come up and play press and just like he was running guys into the sidelines. I'm like, these are your friends, man. You don't have to do them like this. And he was just abusing people. It was very impressive. And you throw his length into it. There's a lot to like there. They're really. I came away. I've got to update my state rankings. Probably we'll get that done here at the end of the month once we get through OU's camps and everything and got a chance to see kind of the last run before the season starts. But he should move up for me. The other guy I do want to mention is Elijah Thomas, the wide receiver from Dakota. Got an interview with him. Elijah, being a young guy, I think that interview is probably I didn't do him enough justice there. That's probably on me. But was very open, grew up an Oklahoma fan. I think Oklahoma is going to be tough to beat for him. But like, I was saying earlier, Alabama had just offered him, I believe, the day or two before I got out there. Guys, watching him up close, he might be the best receiver the state's produced since Robert Meacham, like in 2002.
You can't say that.
Amazing.
It's not on the board.
I guess now that we
moved
moved
to
on
say
three,
it on the pod. I can't say it on the board.
Since we moved to on 3, everybody gets a pass. Can he be? I guess he's the man that can be named now. You just named him. I'm flustered right now.
I was surprised, and again, it's a nice sign of our continuity. How many people, when it got mentioned in the scoop, were like, "You can't say that name. You can't do that." And I was like, "Oh wow, yeah, okay. You guys are all still here. This really, like we've talked about 12 times. It feels like nothing has changed. We've just changed, URLs basically, or our URL is the same. But anyway,
we changed networks.
There is, he is so smooth and natural, and again, it's more that video that Eddie hasn't had a chance to watch. Eddie, it's one you're going to enjoy because during the camp, I was there for maybe an hour, and Ted Roof was there as well. Ted Roof kind of was there for about 15, 20 minutes, and then he kept moving. But talking to him and watching him, I think in the hour I was there, he had 6 touchdowns and an interception on defense. He was everywhere. Now, he's playing guys that are not, and there's not a lot of FBS guys out there at the Dakota team camp. Mason Wright from Vian, the next Wright from Vian, he's really, really good, but he was really the only other guy that really stood out to me. But Elijah is smooth, very natural, really goes up well with his hands. And, again, they get him the ball in a whole bunch of different ways. He looks super comfortable and was really kind of quiet in the interview, but was that kid you could tell once he got on the field, very communicative, was talking to his teammates, very active. You can tell he's kind of the unusual receiver that I think has some leadership qualities that maybe sometimes receivers don't think about as much as he clearly has.
All right, real quick, I want to get to what's coming up at Brent Venables camp starting on Thursday. We're going to be all over that, all over everything, World Series, Brent Venables football camp. Want to remind you guys, though, Father's Day is coming up soon, and Dead Soxy is here for you. This Father's Day, they want you to elevate Dad's style with gifts that are very unique, just like your dad. Dead Soxy's premium socks. Get a head start on your Father's Day shopping. It's a special offer, 25% off and free shipping on all orders with the code SCOOP. From the exclusive sock subscriptions to special weekly supply boxes, there's a perfect match for every dad out there. I know he would love the Maker Bayfields. Everyone that sees those just thinks they're awesome. and they've got those on the site right now. So Dad Deserves the Best Elevated Style Dead Socks today. Get free shipping and 25% off all your orders. Use that promo code SCOOP. And Father's Day, or Dead Soxy wants to wish everybody out there a happy Father's Day. So Tiffany, if you know what's best for you and your family, you know what you're getting Josh for Father's Day. And I'm talking about financially, not like I'm going to take your daughter's hostage.
That's what it came across.
Wow. That got dark.
Bob, you too.
that'd be
I will
awkward.
take Pearl hostage, all right, if I have to. Because all I have to do is just turn on Little Mermaid, and I know that I don't have to do anything else. It's done.
Oh, yeah, that feels like a Pied Piper situation. She might follow you.
I'll just drop little Ariel's. Is that her name, Ariel?
Yes.
I
So
think
she
just
follows
talking
me
about
home.
this could get you arrested, Carrie. I'm gonna opt out.
I feel strongly that I'm always confident talking about murder and kidnapping because I know I'm never going to do it. I mean, you can't. Well, you probably could try and frame me, but it'll never stick. I'm not going to murder anyone
That's
or
why-
kidnap anybody.
That's why Eddie makes all his drug jokes, because he knows he would never do those things.
That's right. It's just a big goof.
And the cigarette things. It's always
Prop
candy.
comedy.
It's
folks.
always candy.
It's called prop comedy. For
I've
a
never
reason.
seen him smoke, Karen. Not one time.
That's right.
I've only smelt it.
It's a new cologne that I'm wearing.
It's a new
Ralph Lauren, Marlboro by Men.
All right, coming up on Thursday, Brent Venables camp starts. Is it the Elite, the 1 and 2 Elite Thursday and Saturday?
Yep.
Josh, I walked outside this morning, and there's like that feeling in the air that you only get at the end of May, beginning of June in Oklahoma, where you kind of start sweating before you even start doing anything.
Oh, God.
I was like, yep, it must be camp season.
camp time.
You're like, oh, it's hot as hell. It's time to go stand outside for about 7 hours a day.
Right,
Let's
right.
do it.
But I mean, let's
no,
talk
you
about
know-
kind of the headliners. I mean, is Thursday kind of like your I don't know, is it like you're easing us into it, and then Saturday just going to be hit over the head with massive prospects everywhere?
Yeah, I'm expecting, and it makes sense. I mean, Saturday, obviously, a lot more parents can bring their kids in because unlike the old, for people that have followed us for a long time, it used to be 3-day sessions. Brent just does them as one individual day, and he's got 5 of them. So Thursday will be a day, Saturday will be a day, the following Thursday on the 8th, and then the 13th and 15th. And obviously, we'll talk more about those as we go. But there are it's gonna be another good camp. I think that's something we all saw last summer, is that Oklahoma this is a reprioritization. Like, this is something that matters to them again. Under Riley, I think it was kind of, if you want to come.
Yeah.
It didn't seem to ever matter to the same degree. But, I mean, you're going to see over the next few weeks, I would guarantee, guys, I think last year, Bob, I can't remember what the final total was, but it was something like 20 guys got offered from the camps. Like, I mean, it was close to that kind of number.
Taylor Tatum, like now who's one of the top running backs in the entire country. It's like you never know who's going to end up being that offered. It ends up being, borderline 5-star for that following class.
Absolutely. I mean, that was when we saw, Michael Van Buren came in, and guys, and like we were talking about before, it's not just guys that camp. DJ Lagway came through and was hanging out back when we kind of thought Lagway was going to be their focal guy at quarterback. King Joseph Edwards, the big defensive lineman from Georgia. Now, I don't know if you want to read into, if you don't camp, maybe things aren't going to pan out in the future because clearly OU kind of moved on from both Edwards and Lagway. But, last year.
Sperry.
I mean, that defensive line group, Nwaneri, Nigel Smith, David Stone, Zadavian Sims. Well, I want to say that name real kind of under our breath right now. Don't want to upset anybody, but there's a lot, and they've done a good job really building that talent. A guy I saw last week that is going to be there on Saturday that I think is as good a bet as probably anybody to be OU's next in-state offer is Riley Kester, the big offensive lineman from Sand Springs, that I think in a camp setting, Bill is going to love that kid because he is nasty. I mean, I watched him against Muskogee. I mean, and Muskogee kids, anybody that's ever been around those kids, they're tough. They don't They don't take crap. They don't mess around. He was pissing Muskogee guys off during that practice. Like, he just almost fought the entire defensive line at one point or another, just because that's the style he plays with, and we know Bill loves those kind of guys. He loves that physicality, that aggression. I think he's I think he's listed as a tackle on 3, but I think he's a center or guard going forward. One of the interesting guys that's really going to be there this weekend is a name that's really starting to pop up in state at a place that we never see names pop up, is Will Rogers in Tulsa, a guy named Josiah Hammond, a 6'5", 230-pound defensive end that has made some noise this
For
spring.
What class?
2025.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's time for him. He can emerge. Based on the tape, I don't know that I see, like, OU level, but he's super raw. Like, I mean, you could make a lot of, there's a lot of ways that could go. Interestingly, for those that don't know, and I didn't know it until I started doing some research, his head coach is former Oklahoma State offensive lineman Levi Adcock. So they've got some staff there. They've got some people that are, they seem to have a functional group. And Will Rogers, I feel like over the last 6 or 7 years, has been starting to try and build. And, coming from where they're coming from, you have to understand that was going to be a monumental task. So to have a guy like this, you're like, okay, because that's the guy we all know would have ended up at Jinx or BA or Owasso or Union for years. So I think that's really interesting. I think there's going to be, and again, we'll get into June 8th and 13th and 15th. Like Alex Shield Knight told me he's going to camp later on in one of the later sessions. There's going to be a good fit. I know Michael Hawkins is going to camp as well. He hasn't set the date, I don't think, yet, because I think he's just kind of a guy, kind of like we saw with Jackson Arnold last year. He's just going to roll in, camp whenever he feels like it, and go home. So I would expect Kevin Sperry will as well. And there's a few others. Jaden Hardy seems like a completely realistic possibility, being a guy from North Dallas. So I don't have the list I want to have right now. That's kind of something that I kind of want to try to isolate over the next day or two here and really try to get a better picture of it going through this whole weekend. But again, last year, there were so many names that we didn't know. Like Taylor Tatum was not a name that everybody was talking about. Idea. Showed up and everybody's like, holy crap, he's amazing. And had a huge junior year for Longview. And now, I mean, I think it's starting to sound more and more like this might be the first really big OU-USC battle we've seen since, the whole thing, with Lincoln Riley and everything that's happened between those two programs. So it's going to be an interesting few weeks. And, like I said, the thing that's interesting is there towards the end, that June 15th weekend, that was when we got our first look at PJ Atabare last year, was right before the barbecue that he was coming in to hang out at. Same deal this year. The day before, I bet you see a couple of the official visitors come in a day early and kind of hang out.
Now, do you think there's of these 5 days, is there any day that feels geared, like, more important than the others, or is that not fair to say?
The real pattern, and again, part of it is because it's so focal in my mind right now, June 13th and June 15th feel like they're going to be very heavy in-state. Like, I'm hearing a lot of guys talking about in-state those particular days. Now, June 8th, I've actually heard some talk there as well. Another guy that, I mentioned Riley Kester in 2026, Caden Jones, Keewan's son, he's going to camp. He doesn't know the exact date yet, but, I mean, he'll again, a guy that I think an offer is only a matter of time. Like, it'll happen. I know just talking to Adam Gaylor and the Jinx staff up there, they've been super pleased with him since his arrival. It was funny talking to him a little bit. I was like, well, who was more excited about this move to Jinx, you or Dad? And it's Keewan. Keewan is super excited about Caden being in colors he's familiar with and didn't grow up hating. So that is, like I said, he is a kid. I want to see how Jinx is going to use him. I saw him a lot at corner the day I was up there, and he's 5'11", 180. I mean, there's no reason to think that couldn't be his future if that's where it works out, although I think we all kind of see him as a running back right now. But what helps this camp is not only that Oklahoma does a good job identifying nationally, which we saw last year with a whole bunch of guys coming in from Florida, Texas, all over the country they had dudes in there, especially I thought Levy did an outstanding job getting such a great quarterback camp. But in-state is really good. 2025, I'm more convinced than ever that's probably going to be the best in-state class since 06. So to have those guys, you can bring them in, let them work out, kind of continue to build the relationships you want to have, I think will only make this camp better.
You might not know the answer now, but are all those 2025 in-state offers going to show up at least one of those days?
That is my expectation. That I would think at the bare minimum, Bob, you're talking like we did with like Lagway and that group, like they'll be just there kind of, hanging out. Like I know Marcus James, who I talked about from Carl Albert, he confirmed earlier today. Again, a lot of these kids know they're going to camp. They just haven't set when it fits their parents' schedule and everything like that. Luckily, Marcus James is the guy that's going to walk in the building and we're going to be like, that's him. Like he's not hard to spot. So we won't have to worry too much about that. But yeah, there is I would expect most of those guys. Like I said, Shield Knight's going to be there. James is going to be there. Due, again, to the relationship that Carl Albert and OU kind of share, I would bet Tristan Haynes and Trinae Washington show up. And, you could go down the list. But, yeah, in that 2025 class, I would bet you see most of those guys. Elijah Thomas, I'm trying to remember exactly what he told me. I know he's going to be on campus this summer. I don't think he mentioned specifically that he would be there for camp.
Any chance we go out there one day and like Gerald McCoy is coaching a position?
I think Gerald would enjoy that part of it. I think Gerald he would get into that a little bit. And he and I have talked about it. I remember when when the news came out that he retired, I was like, do I need to worry about an announcement for you on staff? And he just kind of, no, I wouldn't, I don't think Gerald wants to do the recruiting stuff. Like, I don't think he wants to mess with that kind of, I know.
But I just think, I'm half joking about it, but at the same time, it's like,
sure,
he wants to do things to help OU. Could just going out and being like a camp counselor be something that he'd be interested in? Just like a voluntary kind of thing, just to see some of those kids.
I think it would tell you a couple of things if you see him. A, there's probably a really damn good defensive lineman on campus that day. Yes. And secondarily, it's probably David Stone. Like that would be the way I might look at that. And interestingly, talking about Stone, he was everywhere last week in Oklahoma. He was at the Westmore camp, which made all the sense in the world. Obviously, his relationship with Michael Patterson, McDonald, and then I think kind of quietly, I don't think I heard it really talked about anywhere, he showed up out at the Noble team camp on Thursday night watching Del City, and, he obviously got a lot of relationships there for his first 2 years on campus. So, again, for a guy that, I just don't think we can overstate how often a man that apparently lives in Florida is in Oklahoma. Like, he is in Oklahoma every time he can be. And I just, at some point, I feel like people that are trying to make it interesting or make it into something it's not, it feels a little contrived to me at times, because I just don't think there's any doubt what David wants to do.
And that's what you've said multiple times, is go to Michigan State, right?
Well, I mean, that's just for my own personal fandom and to upset every OU fan. I hope you guys know when I talk to David Stone, I'm recruiting him heavily to Michigan State.
Go green,
make
go
sure
green.
Make sure you clip that. That'll be what we use for YouTube.
I don't know that we should, after what's just happened with defensive line recruiting, that we should be joking about this. I don't know.
Oh, there will be people that get mad about that, and they don't understand it, and that's 100%. That's the point of joking about it.
We need to check the Apple reviews the next 2 weeks, and the guy that's like, there's a recruiting guy recruiting for Michigan State on OU Pod, that son of a bitch.
Josh grew up a Michigan State fan. That's the joke.
All over a starter jacket.
But
who would have known? My mother had no idea how far it would take me.
He switched his baseball allegiances since I've known him at least 4 times. So
that's fair. That's fair.
I think you were a Marlins fan when we first started working together.
I was a Marlins fan for like 20 years, and then the fifth fire sale, I was like, I can't do it anymore. I can't do this. Yes, and then try to get into the Cardinals because that's my dad's team, and I thought like, oh, that'd be nice, and they're so boring. They're just always good, and they're not exciting, and it's. Again, talk about pissing people off. A bunch of Oklahoma fans, love so many love the Cardinals.
There are a lot.
I swear the entire state of Oklahoma is either Cubs or Cardinals, or the Rangers. But do they really even count? They're barely a franchise.
They're just leading the AL West right now by 4 games.
Yeah, I went to so many. I don't know. When I was little, I went to a lot of Royals games. But then, as I got older and moved to Oklahoma, like. The only games to go to were really like Rangers games. You have so many youth trips and stuff.
Tell you what, the ballpark down there is pretty badass. Globe Life.
Is it?
I mean, it's
my dad and my brother went yesterday for the Sunday, whatever, for the TCU OSU game. Yeah. They liked it. Yeah.
I mean, it's cool. It's a great facility.
Just the venue is better. Yeah.
It just sucks that that's where you're playing college baseball at now. Like it. Yeah. It's just so big and spacious and kind of cavernous.
That area is terrible.
But the field and the facility and all that kind of stuff, if the Rangers ever really do get good and they hosted a ALDS or something like that, it'd be pretty sick. It'd be cool.
Yeah.
It just like everything around it is awesome. I just, it's kind of like playing Final Four basketball games at football stadiums. I hate it. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I get why they do it.
But yeah, at the same time though, like I watched some of the SEC, like those stadiums were half empty. I mean, even for
what?
The Vanderbilt game or whatever I was watching.
Oh, well, that was probably the game that started at like 11:45.
It might have been. Yeah,
I mean they got 15,000 on Friday night.
Yeah.
For what would that have been? Quarterfinals.
I mean, SEC has always been a little different level at baseball.
But even SEC, they had the story last week. They're talking about
the rain,
maybe moving it to because of the rain in Hoover every year, and you don't want to start those games at 11:30. They want to move to Globe Life, which would in turn move the Big 12 probably down to Houston. So we'll see. They have a 2-year deal, the Big 12 does, with Globe Life, and we shall see kind of where all that goes. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't believe that the Big 12 or any of these stadiums would fight for the Big 12 with the amount of interest that they get for those tournaments and those venues.
They announced like for the second session on Friday night, they announced 10,000. If they had 10,000, and it might have been for both sessions,
some of those
that was a healthy number.
Figures.
Oh yeah, they might. Well, maybe the OU people were doing all the counting. I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, Josh, anything else to hit on with recruiting? I don't know. I mean, in terms of. If you're starting to talk to people more and more about the barbecue and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, you're starting to get that, and obviously there's already a list being built of it's going to be a good weekend, and I think some of what I will say is probably the last time we talked, there was a lot of negativity is probably the only way to say it about Bryant Wesco, who I think is one of the most key pieces of this 2024 offensive class. I feel like the tide's starting to turn. I think Oklahoma's starting to slow down some of that negative momentum and some of the things that were getting thrown at them a little bit. Obviously, his sister transferring just didn't help Oklahoma, but I don't think North Texas, her decision to play at North Texas really helps anybody other than maybe OU and TCU. But if he wants to be close to his family, I don't think USC makes a ton of sense. There's a lot of options that just don't add up. This may still end up just down to TCU and OU. And again, like I know TCU had a great year last year, did amazing things. That's just not a battle OU loses very often. So we'll see what happens. But the last one they did was a guy from the same basic area in Jalen Reagor. I mean, that's the one that really sticks out to me, a wide receiver from that same kind of just south of Dallas area. I know they hate it when I call it South Dallas, so I have to be real careful about how I orient that. But yeah, so I think things are trending in the right direction there. But other than that, I mean, I think, again, OU fans, you're going to enjoy the next couple months. Just like there's going to be plenty of good news. There's going to be plenty of commitments. Things are coming.
All right. Well, I'm trying to think. Basketball saw transfer portal.
Did not see it coming.
For Porter.
Did not see this coming at all. But I knew something, and he left. I knew something.
I think the dog did something.
That's
I
awesome.
tried to do it as ridiculous as I could be. All right, go ahead. Sorry,
Yeah,
Bob.
The dead period ended last Friday, so the kids could start visiting again on Saturday. And Jalen Moore, a power forward from Georgia Tech, must have snuck right on into Norman throughout the last couple days and made his announcement right as we were about to pod. So there is your power forward. You can decide how you feel about that here going forward, but that is their guy. Someone that averaged 7 points, like 4 rebounds, and he's not going to be your 3-point shooter, which is nice. Not going to have a 4 that's trying to think he belongs out perimeter doing a bunch of things, but they've got their missing piece there. They've got one final scholarship piece left. Cam Spencer, the transfer guard from Rutgers who can shoot the lights out, has OU in his final 4. Those other 4, that's going to be tough. UCLA, Miami, Connecticut. It's not an easy battle to win, but OU's in it. And it almost feels like a freebie at this point because you just got your power forward. But, we knew things had to pick up once the dead period came to a close, and it's clear Porter Moser and staff, they went back to work as fast as possible.
Yeah, well, good news. I mean, obviously, you knew he needed something, and for that to be it wasn't just a throwaway. It wasn't just a guy that was like, okay, well, we got to take a body.
Yeah, I mean, you look at his numbers, Georgia Tech, maybe you're not too excited, but he still has a lot of years left, so you're happy about that and see what he can develop. He is someone that can, like Jalen Hill, because it feels like you get a Jalen Hill clone a bit in like that he can guard 1 through 4. He brings that versatility to what you're trying to do on defense. You're just wondering, is there another level that he can go offensively, or is his ceiling going to be like 6 to 8 points?
By the way, the only other thing I can think of, spring meetings started for the SEC. I thought that was kind of interesting.
I know this sounds bad. I don't care about the 8-9 game thing. I feel like that's a media generated story that just.
Well, I think what it signifies is if they go to 9-game conference, they could squeeze the networks for more money. Is kind of why that's of interest to people. So then if the SEC goes to 9 games, can they overtake the Big Ten in total revenue and all that kind of stuff? I don't know if Bob, if you wanted to give up the mic to George for a sec, so we can talk to him before we get out of here. But I know. By the way, I just want to say both of you guys. Now that I've taken the mic away from Bob, I'm saying this, but tremendous job on the softball coverage over the weekend. I couldn't be prouder of what we're building here, just from a journalism standpoint. And that was the first thing. We do all the pod stuff, but we wanted to make sure the journalism side was taking care of things. We want to have fun, and Eddie and I want to dick around and all that stuff, but that is really the key to what we are and how we're built. So appreciate all the work that's gone into that. Looking forward to what's going to go on with the College World Series. I know, George, you're working ahead on some things as well, but obviously with Utah getting in here, it's a really interesting storyline with Patty Gasso's son and former pitcher Paige Parker. And I was kind of hoping that would happen. I'm glad they're not matched up early. But it's going to be interesting. They're a very good offensive team. I've watched them a few times. Maybe not the best, Paige Parker's are maybe not the most dominant pitching team because they'll give up a lot of runs. But, they were the ones that won the Pac-12, beat UCLA. So, just moving forward, George, I don't know, with spring, football and now you going into summer camps. I know you're kind of excited about seeing what that's all about a little bit.
Yeah, I've never been to the summer camps, football camps. When I was in school, I was out interning somewhere else or whatever. But I'm excited to get out there and see some of the kids. I didn't realize that there's that many prospects coming, so it'll be nice to catch up with some of them. So I'll be out there on Thursday. I don't know if we've decided what I'll be doing Saturday. I mean, kind of depends on softball scheduling. But I know Bob will be out at softball on Thursday. So it's going to be a hectic next couple weeks because with softball now, too, being so spread out, because it used to be, you were done in like a week with softball. Now
well,
it's
remember
like
they had to redo everything because they got criticized for having that game that started so late.
And it was Patty that kind of pushed the button on that.
Like, we need a day off in here because you're making us do too much and you're putting stress on the athletes.
And when Patty speaks, the NCAA listens. And when it comes to softball, so yeah, they'll we have the football camps this week, again next week, and then also I think we'll be covering a national championship next week. So. Looking forward to it. Bob has been spectacular in organizing our content.
He's been doing a fantastic job.
Making sure that we get the amount of stories we want to get out, and also just coming up with new ideas. So I know that we have some softball stuff lined up. We're gonna have a ton of coverage from the football camps these next couple days. So it should be good. It's a busy off season, but that's good.
I got a question for George.
Here, just take mine.
The name, image, likeness. What did that ruling change, or how does it change anything yet?
It does. It allows basically, and we talked about it a couple weeks ago. I think it was when I wrote that story. But essentially, it allows that you don't have to have a license to be an agent for an athlete in the state of Oklahoma. So your parent or guardian could be technically your quote-unquote agent, because some of these student athletes cannot obviously afford like a full-time agent, say like a Dylan Gabriel. It also allows, and this is the bigger part of it, the university to have more of their hand in the collectives and overrule those. I mean, we've seen that with Texas A&M, a lot of SEC schools. I don't know if you guys saw the Ross Dellinger piece this morning about kind of the chaos going in SEC NIL.
Yeah, the Missouri stuff versus the Florida stuff and all that.
And Eli Drinkowitz had that quote about pediatricians. What did he say, Eddie? Something about his brother saves lives, but these kids are making more money.
Yeah, and then omitted the fact that he's a football coach and makes 6 times what his brother makes. Brother-in-law makes, but that's neither here.
Just sort of a moronic comment.
I think that he is.
He's
wearing on me a little bit.
He's operating from his position of power and strength, which is, if he were at, if he were at Alabama, he wouldn't be saying things like that.
No,
right?
No, but
he's at little old Missouri, so he's going to do that.
In terms of how it affects OU, I don't think you're going to see a ton in terms of in the next couple weeks. Now, I do think, and we've kind of talked about this a little bit, I think there is some sort of announcement coming with OU and NIL eventually. I think I don't know what that's going to be, but I do think in the future you're going to see that department grow. And what I mean by that is, and I wrote about this in the mailbag this week, is I think that there's going to eventually be just an NIL branch inside the athletic department. And I don't know how big that's going to be. I don't know if there's going to be several staff members, but I think you're going to see a group of people that are specific towards working with the collectives, bringing money in, working with the athletes so that they can make the most money, but also so the university can make more money.
Sure.
That's the end goal.
And they can make more money from their ticket holders and all that.
Exactly. And I think what I envision it being is they're going to go out and hire former agents, maybe lawyers that are well-versed in NIL, those sorts of people to come in, experts essentially, to come in and run this for them to make sure that they have, because that's what you're seeing in some of these SEC schools is they're going out and hiring these people that can run it for them because there's just so much complexity and it's just a big operation to take over. So especially if you're going to be basically running these collectives moving forward.
Well, the problem with it too is you're running this whole division now, and you're not keeping all the money that you're making. So it's like you are kind of doing it as a charitable thing, even though I think you'll still be able to have a tax deductible donation when you do this stuff. But it's like if you run a business like us, we have to be able to make money in order to keep growing in this stuff. But if we're giving some of our profits to somebody else, it's not really going to grow OU football. It's not going to make them more money. The more money they're giving to athletes. It's more about recruiting and retaining and developing and all of that stuff. Let's face it, university, it's all based on donations. It's not like professional sports where For some reason, they can pay the players and also have they use the cities to build their facilities and stuff like that. So, but like at OU and any college, it's about people donating enough money for you to be able to take advantage of your media rights and all that stuff. So it is just a really tricky situation. And the thing I hope is that Dylan Gabriel can still have his own deal separate. Or, I know Jackson Arnold, he signed up with I looked it up the other day, he signed up with this big-time agency that represents a lot of people.
Yep.
And I'm sure a lot of that is they're not paying them, but they're going to get their cut when they come to him with a really good deal.
Yeah, I think that's how it works. Again, I don't know all the ins and outs of it. I'm working on some stuff that I want to do this summer on NIL. The issue is I don't know much about it, and I think there's a lot of people in these athletic departments across the country that don't know a lot about it, and so there's just a lot going on. The other thing I will say about the bill that's important to note is it basically allows OU and OSU and Tulsa to basically not get in trouble with the NCAA, which I've said this before, that's not going to happen anyways. The NCAA has not had they've not put down one sanction or violation on any program across the country the last 2 or 3 years now since NIL has started, but this now gives them basically a free pass to never get in trouble.
Well, and I think the one thing eventually you're going to run into is it's just like with the Missouri-Florida thing. So now that Missouri can arrange deals for guys that have signed with them, but Florida can't do that, well, Florida's just going to go to their legislature and say, we need to change our NIL deal. So it's going to be a constant one-upsmanship with these, legislators and universities that are trying to get the best deal for to say we can't get in trouble for anything that happens, that's not reality.
Exactly.
If the NCAA doesn't step in at some point, then everybody's just going to be playing a big game of one-upsmanship.
Well, and that's why somebody asked me too, does this bill mean that NIL is going to be normalized? And I said far from it, because you're just going to see NIL become a bigger picture, and you're going to see more bills. This is not going to be the last bill that the state of Oklahoma passes on NIL. I think there'll be at least maybe 2 or 3 more in the next couple years.
And it'll be in reaction to what other people are doing.
Especially when OU goes to the SEC, because OU will start, I would assume, pushing for some of the stuff that you're seeing in Missouri, Florida, Texas, those sorts of bills that are being passed that are similar to this one. It's just going to keep progressing until the NCAA or the United States government just says, here is the flat line rules. And that's what a lot of people are pushing for, is they just need a bottom baseline. Here's what you can and cannot do. The NCAA is not going to step up and do that. They're pushing it towards the U.S. government to do it. We know the U.S. government's not going to do it. So it's just a big shit show, to be honest.
Well, and the other thing is, like you said, they don't know how they're going to build this out, how it's going to benefit them. It might come to a position in 4 or 5 years where they're just like, we don't want this on our plate anymore. We can't handle this. Is too much. This is taking up too many resources, and we have other people that we know can take this over and handle it capably. We don't know where this is going, and Joe Castiglione doesn't know where this is going to go.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
It's going to be fluid. The whole thing is going to change and evolve, and I think you just have to be prepared to know that it's not going to be the same 5 years from now as it is today.
Correct. Yeah, I wish I could predict what it's going to look like, but I honestly have no idea. And again, I think there's going to be a lot more bills and rules and things that are come up in the next even 6 months.
In fact, I think most of the collectives that are operating out there now will be happy to just hand things over to schools. Because they're not making a ton of money off of it.
Yeah, and I would encourage you, go read the Ross Dellinger piece on SI, because it was really well done. I know that there's some other people putting it out there, but it was well done on terms of what the SEC is doing in the NIL game right now, and Oklahoma was mentioned in it a few times. So,
all right, I think that's good for today. I know we've got all kinds of stuff going on this week. Stay tuned to Soonerscoop.com for all the coverage. We are on 3 right now. I should mention our $1 for 6-month promo will be coming to an end sometime soon. We don't know when that will be. We're going to have that discussion with On3, but get it now. That's the only thing I can tell you. Get it now. Don't worry for this thing to run out, and don't come, asking, hey, I know it ran out. Can I get that? We're going to tell you no, because we're telling you here, if you're a pod listener and you're not a subscriber to Sooner Scoop, it's $1, man. Just come support us. We'd appreciate the support. We put enough dumb pods, man. Just give us $1. Give us your $1. So 6 months, it's painless. Come see what we do, the stuff that George is doing, the stuff that Bob's doing. Eddie's become a Pulitzer nominated writer. Over
I
this baseball
love
coverage.
But
Eddie's voice.
I
I love
probably
it.
already should have been, if we're going to be honest.
You're
I
a
probably already
zero-time
should have
award
been.
winner.
Well, and that's a lie too, because I have won awards. But yeah, I look forward to winning the Pulitzer this year.
Eddie writes the way he talks. I love it.
Yeah, I like Eddie's writing style. I really do.
I might write a book. You never know.
You could do it, I think, if you wanted to. Other people have written books that clearly didn't need to.
Like Bush. That's a joke. That's
All
a
right.
joke, folks.
I think it's time for us to get out of here. Charlottesville is getting stronger and stronger with Eddie the further it goes on. So we'll see you guys again later on this week. Just chronicling some of what we've seen out at Brent Venables football camps. All the news from that you'll be able to get on Soonerscoop.com. Don't forget SoonerscoopStore.com. Still open for business. Still got plenty of the Sleep, Eat, Run, Rule, Repeat shirts. And it's great to see people out there wearing those to the games, and going to be great seeing people in Oklahoma City. So we're shipping them out as fast as we get the orders. So Soonerscoopstore.com. Go check it out and support that NIL shirt. That's going to do it. We'll see you guys back here again later on this week and again next week for another edition of the Unofficial 40 podcast from Soonerscoop.com.